Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm Liane. I'm Liane. Are you ready to ride the Are you ready to ride the Freakwency?
Well, hello there. Welcome. How are you? One of those days, eh? There we go. That's more like it lately, yeah.
Like Beavis and Butthead all in one.
Yeah, right.
Fabulous creature. Who needs makeup, right?
Right.
Good.
Isn't it
It
true?
hasn't even been one of those days. It was one of those Fridays. And I'm just showing off and acting up. Hey, Lorna. Just acting up. You know, my mom, this is from, gosh, and I guess they must have washed the bottle. I don't know if you can see.
Oh,
But this is
yeah.
a really old decanter that's
Mhm.
probably been around for a good long time. I looked and they sell them online. I can't pay my rent. Here, $30,000 and you can have it.
There you go.
So things are just getting wackier. What's up, Lena?
Right.
Getting wackier by the day. Out there, in here. It's a fun bottle. It's a fun bottle. It's a bottle with a party in it. Ha, ha. I'm such a lightweight. Literally, I just took a little tiny sip and that was enough to just make me want to. Now my
Yeah, right.
like it's on fire. It feels like it's on fire right about down to here. But I guess this is why the little Saint Bernard comes with this little barrel for the guys stuck in the snow because it warms you up from the inside. Fire
Right.
water. It's fucking gross. I don't know how people do it. I really don't. I'm grateful that I don't like it. Marijuana, on the other hand. So yeah, man. How was your weekend?
Not bad. Went to my parents, saw them, and talked to a manufacturer to make some Bigfoot Outlaw hot sauce. So we're going to try to do something like that. So we'll see how that comes along.
Do Sasquatch like hot sauce?
Oh, hell yeah.
How do you know?
Because, man, they eat anything.
How do you know?
Because Old Bear puts hot sauce and chili and they eat the hell out of it. And they do. It gives them the shits, but...
Wait, you think Sasquatch chili shits?
Yeah, it sure does.
Sasquatch chili shits in the
So-
woods. Here.
Yeah, we're gonna let Mary design the labels and stuff. We got our stuff on order to sample it and see how the recipe's coming out.
You guys are all over the place. Like, I just actually watched, you know the little red button that says live at the top. As I looked over it, it flipped to 444. Just saying, guys. Like, it doesn't stop. Every time I look at some number, anything, It's just so rando and so weird, but so
A
wonderful.
little twisted said chili shits.
Yeah, no, Sasquatch chili shits in the woods.
So
It's the whole thing.
I
It's
got a
either the
friend
whole
of
thing
mine
or
that's
nothing.
got Sasquatch poo poo in the freezer.
Sasquatch poo poo in the freezer.
Yeah,
Have you had it?
in
Have you
a
had it
sweet low
examined?
box.
Have you had it examined at Sandia Labs? That's where you need to take it. Call Emery Smith and have him.
I swear to God, he's got it.
Hey, Emery, I'm sending you a package.
So
What? What? Because you want me to? Because I'm sending Emery Smith the
and his
crap?
fiance didn't know about it until he was on my show, and it was funnier than hell.
Yeah, well, all kinds of weird stuff happens on your show that's funnier than hell.
Yeah, like you singing.
Are you saying that I contribute to this?
You do.
I have
You and
contributed.
your damn biscuits. Poor Julian.
Look, first of all, I didn't know that a biscuit was the same thing as a hoo-ha. Like I didn't know that a biscuit.
Wait a minute. I sent you a private message during the show and you made the announcement. That's what a PM stands for. Private message. You want to broadcast it.
Look, I understand NDA and not discussing business stuff, but when it comes I'm good there. I'm
Wait a
really
minute.
good.
You haven't even signed the
good
damn paperwork, so that don't
No,
count.
but I'll sign the paperwork because it doesn't really make me do anything other than have that best. No, it has nothing to do with me. It's all about you keeping your little secrets.
Yeah, that's it. I know. A little twisted said Julian still don't get it.
Are you serious?
No, you don't.
Stop. See, now I feel bad. Now I feel like when we go feed pigeons at Cleopatra's Needle, I'm going to have to break it to him. Like gently. What is a biscuit?
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, after seeing Sasquatch Sunset, I know what Bigfoot does. I know what Bigfoot does. That was embarrassing.
I don't know enough.
Grizzly, pull up this Bigfoot movie.
I don't know enough about Bigfoot. Like, I feel like
I did. I played the damn trailer on the damn show.
Can you play it now? Show us.
Hell no.
What do you mean, no?
Bigfoot was doing something nasty.
I want to see.
And everybody was screaming at me. And the old man on my show.
Okay, this is MySpace. Isn't this MySpace? Didn't you say that I could do whatever I want to do on my show?
Your space.
Okay, well then I want to watch. I want to see Bigfoot doing nasty. Here,
Mary's
you know what?
Like, what was Bigfoot doing?
You know what, Mary? Sit down and Grizzly, push the button. Do it. You know what? I can't open this. This is like I keep telling everybody I'm like a child, and like I can't open this fucking bottle because they're adult proof. They're not child proof. Like when I was a kid, I could open.
That's all right. I was trying to get what do you call it? Pickled okra jar open the other night.
Is that what they call it now? Pickled okra? Yeah, is that like another biscuit? Okra. Something. You want to stick your pickled okra in
I was trying to open it, and I was opening that, trying to twist it the wrong damn way, and that's embarrassing.
Moon him? There's no mooning. No mooning. Oh, guess what? I got it open. Don't moon who? Don't moon Bigfoot. Don't moon Ross.
No idea.
Don't moon Ross.
She says use your shirt for grip.
No, it's too late. I already got it. Here it says that like, oh wait, a full dose is a meal. It's like 3/4 of a dose right there. All right, whatever.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll fucking sleep tonight. It's really crazy. So you guys want to know about how Hollywood is dysfunctional? Is that you want to talk about that? Because I just got a reminder. No, it's not going to be Ashton Forbes like flipping out. Maybe it will be. I don't know. Ashton Forbes doesn't have my hair or my breastises, or a biscuit. Oh. And he calls his audience, "Hi, chat." Like, "Hi, chat. Oh, help us. Help us what? What do you need help with? Because like otherwise I'm going to start yapping about Hollywood. Because tell me what you need help with. I know I know you're kidding. I was trying to be funny by pretending to take you literally. Uh-oh. Do you hear the FaceTime note? You probably don't hear that. My mic ain't picking it up.
Yeah, it's picking it up.
the FaceTime noises, the
Yeah. Yeah.
that, like when my little bird makes that noise in front of somebody she doesn't like, it's like Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood, my left foot, we're done. Done.
Oh Lord.
That's the danger noise. And she's making it. So I'm not sure what's going on in there, but it can wait. In any event, if you don't want to hear about Hollywood, that's okay, but I'm happy to tell you it's not anything to do with adrenochrome. So we can rule that one out. It's not what we're talking about. So I have this agent, and I've known him 30 years, literally. My husband and I took him out, like when things were a little bit different, in LA to a friend's restaurant, which was like a 5-star restaurant. This guy was like, but he was a friend. So, I get to take my friends to this fancy super restaurant that no one can get in. So we go, and that's fine. And then things move along, and then I decide I don't like this anymore. And so I fire him. And then I look at my mom, who was alive at the time, and say, I better have a friend call me, because otherwise, I just committed career suicide. And so literally the next day, a friend calls and says, I want you to come in because whatever. And that was Sons of Anarchy. So I booked it. So that was just like a whole weird, it was just so weird. Anyway, so that's how that all happened. So fast forward, my mom's gone. And I figure, okay, time to get back on the horse. So I call Rod, and he gracefully takes me back in, but then tells me I only cover Atlanta, Chicago, and LA. Okay. Do you know anybody in New York? No, you're on your own. Okay, great. Well, I'm boots on the ground here. Look, I can't, right? So I finally find somebody. And then somehow I managed to find the only agent whose assistant got loaned out for an apprentice program, right? And leave it to me to find the lady who was at this agency who only covers Atlanta and Chicago and LA for just a minute, just to learn the ropes. I didn't know this. Here comes ADD story. So because I'm Hollywood Disclosure Alliance and so is Richard Dolan, I figure, okay, let me see if I can find him. So I hop on my special IMDb Pro. Hi, Diva Bird. We have company. And I find him, and I find his agent, and I call her because I want to interview Richard Dolan. And so we get to talking, and then I ask her, do you get breakdowns? That's where they advertise what jobs are available, and all the agents get it in their email, and it updates now in real time, 2 a.m, it doesn't matter. So I say, by the way, do you get breakdowns? She says, I get breakdowns in all 50 states. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. Can I send you my stuff? She says, yeah. Comes back to me and says, oh, Cindy, who used to work at What's It, said, after all you've been through and you can't go to in-person auditions. And I'm like, what? Is she got the wrong person? What is going on? So being who I am, I quickly turn around and I email. I mean, this is Peyton Place, Liane, 2 hours, not even a half an hour. And this is all because I'm grrr. And as this is going on, I'm remembering this is why Hollywood made you fucking crazy. Because this kind of shit, people saying stuff, it's not accurate. It's like a game of telephone. And then the perception, if once somebody perceives you as you can't go to in-person audition. So I'm whoa, Cindy says you can't go to in-person audition. So until you can commit. And I'm going, what are you talking about? So I launched my crazy email at Cindy at Barron Entertainment, where I'm handled, not knowing that this woman works for the lady I just hit up, right? And I'm thinking, what? Okay, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. So today I figured out the woman who gave me a reference works for the owner of the agency who handles Richard Dolan, and spent a blip of time at the agent who still handles me in Hollywood, Atlanta, and Chicago, who instructed me to go get an agent who covers New York because he doesn't. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking I finally find somebody who is willing to look at my stuff and who is nice, and like she seems really nice. And then this woman, Cindy, like just says something crazy and throws it all off. So like, again, it's reminding me about all the things I go on about. All the things I go on about. And hold on a second, Randall. I'm going to finish my little story. Just you stay put. You stay put. I'm so bossy. So this goes back to public perception. And I think about a post that I put up, you know, about how, like, if you want to watch the news and get a lesson in how psyops work on mass fucking receivers of crazy transmissions, that's, you know, go turn on CNN, right? And so, like, how quickly somebody's perception can be flipped. So basically, I got a pass from this woman. Like, I can't deal, like, if you're not committing and the business is slow. So I turned around and sent a photograph of this to my buddy, Dean Devlin, you know, the guy who made Independence Day, like, not a small potato. And he's like, that's total bullshit. There are no in-person auditions. That was just like your agent blow off of the century. So then I went back to Rod and he says, who's Therese? And why are you writing Cindy? I'm on vacation. I'm like, dude, this. Then she said that. So basically this woman blew a shot for both of us to have you split commission.
Wow.
Because she said something whack about after all Liane's, but I've got it all in writing. Like, and I'm just going, you know what? All the more reason to turn around. And I'm yelling, but I'm not actually even whooped up. I'm actually excited. All the reason to turn around and take a little 4-minute piece that you have and flesh it out into a TV show. So I learned how to do a pitch deck. I have made a pitch deck. I opened my mom's final draft. I upgraded it, and I started writing a treatment for a TV show this weekend. So there you go. And then tomorrow I'm going to the SAG Conservatory to go to the introduction to screenwriting to make sure that, like, my instincts are good and I know what I'm doing.
Damn.
Or learn something, because you know what? Nobody is coming to save my ass. I'm the only one here to do it. My family's like doing their fucking thing. And so now I'm doing my thing. And that's that. So tomorrow I'm talking to Britt Elders on a pre-recorded. She happens to manage Shirley MacLaine. I want to drop names, so I'm going to talk to her. I still have to call Angela Ford. And right now, I have a friend who's been really shy about coming on one of these lives, you know? Oh, dude, I'm not kidding. A little twisted. I am not. Like, I'm an only child, and I'm learning how to be self-reliant literally in every area. I figure, like, to be brutally honest with you guys, like, my rent hasn't been paid in like 8 months. I owe about $30,000 in back rent. Like, and I'm still laughing somehow, and I'm not really worried. Like, honest, it'll take them a really long time to kick my ass out of here because the court is totally backed up. And like, they just gave me a pay or whatever a few weeks ago. So, like, I haven't even been brought to court yet. So I'm just like, whatever, letting it all hang out. And this has nothing to do with the bong hit or the little tiny bit of Jack Daniels I just did for show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend Randall. He's shy. So I told him, here's the deal. If you want to call me, I'll put you on speakerphone. Randall is a really amazing musician. Randall, I have played not gigs with. I haven't played music with him, but I've played at the same gigs he has. Randall always used to say, I can never hear you singing, and I feel like you have a good voice, but like, why don't you get up on the mic? Like, I want to hear you. Like, you know, if you want.
I could hear your voice, just not very loud, and you have a nice voice. It was like blending nice, and you were doing a gig with Jack, I think.
My daughter, Jack. I was backing her up on bass. Like, we were playing at a place called the State Social Club on Tuesdays, you know? and Jack got to play every week. And so sometimes she'd play solo, but sometimes my friend Rich and I would play with her. And we actually got to get a really pretty big sound, the three of us. You know, every once in a while, the sound guy would hop in because he played fiddle for, who did he play for?
Oh, Don Teschner.
Yeah, Tesh. He used to play for Stewart. What's his name? Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart.
He used to play for Rod Stewart back in the day, live.
You know, Liane, my good friend Frank Sinatra told me never to name Rob. Get it? See what I did there? My good friend Frank Sinatra told me never to name drop. Never mind.
You're terrible. Like I'm only being silent because that was so bad. So Randall Kirsch, Grizzly can hear you. Grizzly Chris, this is Randall.
Hello, Randall. Nice to meet you.
Impressive beard. I haven't tuned in yet today, but I know what your beard is, and it's like a beard wearing a man. It's gigantic.
The beard wears the man. The beard wears the man. Hi ho, the dairy-o, the beard wears the man. Yeah, it does. I like it.
I think that's actually where the viewership is coming from, is jealous guys.
Jealous guys who don't have beards like Grizzlies.
I wish I could grow a beard like that.
You can do other things, Randall.
Well, one of the things I'm doing today is calling in because you dropped a wisdom bomb earlier in the day on a phone call that we were on that I wanted to share because it's really good.
Like I hoard my material things because they remind me of time, space, and I believe that material things have the consciousness of whoever has used them in them, and the things around me have been used by people I love who are no longer here. So, but my thoughts I don't hoard and I don't hold. Like, so I have no idea what the fuck I said 2 seconds ago. Could you please remind me what wisdom bomb I dropped on you?
Well, it was, I'm not going to name names just to protect privacy.
Oh, now he's not name dropping. Great.
The dynamic was that somebody didn't want to come over to your house with their friends because they wanted you to have your house in a certain way.
Oh, okay. I'll open that up. It's one of my kids who is dating somebody whose parents have lots and lots of money and are probably famous, like by society standards. And I asked whether if they were in town, if it would be embarrassing to her for them to come over here. Like would she be okay with them coming over? And she just kind of looked at me, and I felt like this discomfort just spilling out of her. And I thought, wow, really?
Wow.
Right. So that's what Randall is referring back to that conversation this morning. So yeah.
That's the discomfort police, by the way. I think they're responding to the call.
There's a siren outside. He said it's the discomfort police. It's the awkward police. Okay.
Well, the thing that you said that made so much sense to me and was so beautifully put was that you felt like if someone doesn't have unconditional love for themselves, how can they have it for anybody else? And like setting a condition on, like wanting you to engage in a certain kind of behavior in order to engage in a certain kind of behavior themselves. I'm not putting it as well as you did, but you said unconditional love. If you don't love yourself unconditionally, then that kind of is going to go out into everybody else, and you're not going to be able to love anyone else unconditionally. And I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, I have issues with all three of my kids. Like I don't fit into some idea of normal that doesn't feel not threatening to their peace of mind somehow. Like I don't know who I am, just makes them uncomfortable. And basically I said, well, that's kind of their problem. And maybe because they haven't accepted and figured out how to love themselves 100%, that they're not able to love me with all of what they consider to be my glitches. And they just throw the baby out with the bathwater. But ultimately, it's not, I'm not going to change. I'd rather be disliked for who I am, even by my kids, than be loved for somebody I'm not. Like, I'm not playing that. That's a good quote. And the interesting piece for me was that I feel like the reason people don't get along here on this plane is circumstantial. For the most part, I mean, maybe there's something different, but I feel like underneath all this rough water, in the very deep water, people are all connected. People are fully capable of getting along and just naturally do anyway, because there isn't any of this this plane, this world type of competition and grabbiness and desire for ownership, and also programming, you know, from the ads, like, you're not enough, you're not good enough unless you buy this beer or these clothes or this car. And I think that gets into people's heads, and they start caring what other people think, and they start moving away.
Right. It's like a virus. It spreads into everything, into relationships. Like, and then there's the self-judgment. So then you judge other people, and then you just become some like little, you know, you got to tiptoe through the tulips if I want to hang out with you. I'm not doing that. Go tiptoe through your own damn tulips. Like, I'm not saying people's feelings shouldn't be acknowledged. That's different. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be compassionate. That's also different. But, you know.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a perfect way to do it here. Our closest genetic relatives are chimpanzees, for crying out loud.
Or lizards, but they haven't proven that yet.
Well, I think the DNA, you know, the DNA is probably this plane thing, and I'm just guessing. I mean, the word I would apply to all this stuff is mystery as far as I'm concerned, but I feel like the true self continues on, or, you know, once we leave this place, and I think maybe we existed before we came to this place. Just personal experience tells me that, and I'm good at suspending my disbelief when people tell me crazy things, because I've experienced crazy things myself, and they seemed real to me, so I'm willing to listen if somebody has a story.
Exactly. See, and that's what I was saying. I don't know if any of you guys have watched my pre-recorded with Dan Willis. Like, some of the things that he says, like, by today's social standards, are completely outrageous. Completely outrageous. The Marcel Vogel and the technology and the science. And then as soon as he starts talking about Elena Danaan going on spaceships, a certain amount of people just shut it off. Like, because they cannot even consider it. Like, it's okay to watch it on Star Trek, but it's not okay to listen to somebody who's actually had an experience.
Well, that's the thing. Not all of these realities are accessible to everyone where we're stuck here on the planet.
I blame social engineering and the gullibility and manipulation of people's consciousness. I was watching this Dr. Stephen Greer talk last night. He's letting some talk that he did out in 2015 that was an all day or all weekend thing in 2-hour parts. And the one thing that he said in the second episode that I watched last night was that one of the people he knows who has proof, and I think maybe even photos documented, that at Lockheed Skunk Works, they made a chip that's like a nano chip. They can put it in your banana. They could put it in your drink. It goes in like that. But then what it does is it does something once it's in your system to make you a receptor for transmissions that are coming from, like, how they want you to think, how they want you to feel, what you can get up and go do. And this is, you know, science fiction sounding stuff, but Greer's talking about this at a talk in 2015. And he's talking, and he says there were 2, and I think this is correct, you guys can find it yourself, 2 billion chips were made. 2 billion chips were made to disseminate somehow dungeon programming, you know. So it just so if Lockheed Skunk Works has 2 billion of those, at that time in 2015 there were only 7 billion people on the planet. Now there are 8 billion. So that's, you know, figure if these things have been fed to 2 billion people, right? That's 1/4. So we got 3/4 of the people on the planet not, and 1/4 of the people with some kind of whackness in them that receive messages from, you know, the central scrutinizer. Now I'm going Frank Zappa, you know, Joe's Garage.
Yeah. Joe's Garage.
right?
Oh, side note, speaking of music, Liane references Dr. Stephen Greer in a song called The Aliens Are Here. And it's a fun song. If anybody in the audience listening live right now, both of you, go check out The Aliens Are Here.
It's just nonsense, but it's very pointed nonsense because I was just, fast tracking for 4 years the disclosure situation. I'm already rolling my eyes. Like, how are we not past that? We're not alone. What are you talking about? So whatever. But like, it's true. Like, people really actually, some people don't think. And then I found out that the Air Force and the CIA are the ones that are clamping the information. I don't know if this is accurate. I'm not a journalist, but thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you, Hector.
Thank you.
Somebody said, yeah, it's a great song. Thank you, Hector. Hector makes some really cool stuff. You should follow that Carius one on Instagram. He makes these really cool art stuff, but like, he makes these heads that go on. I can't explain it. He could do it better. Anyway, so go check his stuff out.
I'm on the show.
Maybe one day.
This is like a smaller piece that I want to bite off of this, which is that I heard a senator say this, I think, and I'm not interested in bringing the politics into it, except as this example. Like pre-election, she was just noticing and acknowledging that people aren't really having discussions. They're just kind of trying to bash the other person over the head with their point of view. And she said when she engages with someone on the other side of the aisle, she asks them questions. Like, if they bash her over the head with their reality, she says, why do you believe that? And then that gives them pause and makes them think a little bit. And the piece that I want to kind of think about and address here is, when you talk to someone that you know and they've had a personal experience, that's pretty close to the source. And if you're looking on the internet or listening to people that you don't know, then you maybe a little bigger grain of salt. Pardon me. Like I said.
Yeah, because if it's somebody you know, then you want to tend to give them the benefit of the doubt because you've got history with the person and they're not freaking liars, But then when you hear somebody walk on and say, I went on a ship and they took me to their planet and the whole you kind of side eye it a little bit, it's still not normalized enough, which is really one of the things that I want to try to do, or help do, is to normalize the situation. And if I have to make a TV show about how absurd everybody's behaving, just like the music video, that's what I'm doing. I know what I want. I know what I want to say. I can do it minimalistically with my freaking iPhone. And so I'm just done waiting for people. So we're back to like full circle. If you want something done, just go do it yourself.
This might be a good time to try to start normalizing outside of the big hump of the bell curve ideas, because things are so whack anyway.
Right. It's everything's so chaotic that introducing what would seem to be crazy ideas, people are so exhausted from the same old, they might actually listen for a change because they're sick of it. That's true. If that's what you were saying.
Repeat that one time really quick.
People are so sick of the bullshit that and there's just so much bullshit flying around out there that people, maybe that in and of itself makes people a little more open-minded, because I might as well listen to this bullshit too if I'm going to consider the other two, because it's all crazy, right?
Well, it is kind of all crazy, and the crazier it is, the more hits it gets, the more likes it gets. There's a person on Instagram, she's a doctor, and she fact-checked this, everything being, like Red 40 being illegal in Europe, in the EU. It's called something different. It's called E122 or something. And it's not. It's in all kinds of ingredients over there. And of the 5, colors that I think are said to be banned over there, the EU actually has 16 colors that are banned in the United States. Like, there's a color that's black, there's an aluminum one, a gold one, a silver one, and they can't be used in ingredients. Even like Skittles, has a different formula over there because they allow those colors over there.
Yeah, and then they use Oreos as an example because our Oreos are full of chemicals, but the Oreos in the UK and in France have like 3 ingredients that look normal. So, you know, I don't know. It's all, again, see, this is it's just all nuts. My advice, go meditate and use your discernment and listen to your body. If you crave, you know, like a kale salad, go eat it. If you crave a hamburger, your body probably needs some taurine. Just go eat it, like, you know, and don't, right, follow your own instincts because they're probably good as long as you're not one of the 2 billion that have a chip in them. Oh my God.
Well, see, that's one of those things, you know, like I like to respect people's path, whatever it is, and listen to them and acknowledge like the path they're on and the things that they're experiencing. And some of it sounds freaking crazy. And you're right, you know, people will click the off and other people will go, geez, I relate to that. I went through something like that. And that's your audience. That's who will be listening to that music that's coming out of your mouth as words.
Yeah, it's all a matter of, you know, being on the same wavelength. And I use that word very purposely because, you know, our thoughts and our feelings do travel as waves through the ethers and hit the people with whom they are resonant, like differently from how they hit people who are not resonating at that same frequency. And it's 3 things, you know, it's intention, emotion, and thought. All those 3 things together are what and I think the heart is the driver, not right, honestly.
The three things I think about are thoughts, words, and actions, because you can't progress, you can't usually do much of an action unless you have the thought first, and a lot of actions happen without words, but words certainly give the thought of the action. It moves it more toward reality.
Right. Well, I mean, if you want to experience it in 3D, your body has to go do something about it. You can't just sit there. So like, again, it's a balance between different things. It's a multitasking situation. Yeah. Well,
what is the idea? Has anybody listened? I think we talked about this before, but the Telepathy Tapes podcast, Grizzly, have you heard that?
Yes, I have.
I know Liane has listened to it. I just got turned on to it, and it added another. That's one of those crazy, crazy stories that at first glance looks crazy, but I happen to know someone who has experienced something like this. That podcast, for those who are not familiar with it, deals with telepathic communication between nonverbal autistic kids and their loved ones, or between each other. And the overarching point that they make, if you know, through the telepathic communications, as per the podcast, or through these modes of communication that they do have, which is like typing it out on an iPad or poking their fingers one at a time through letters cut out of a board. That's called spelling. But the point that they're making over and over again is we're in here. We're not stupid. We're not non-existent because we can't control our bodies or speak like you do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so, sometimes I feel like our true selves, our before-born selves, are the selves that will be after we lose this body, are doing the same thing. It's like they're trying to figure out a way to get our attention and say, hey, we're in here. You know, I'm in here. Your true, you know, true self is in here. Get out of the way and let me do my thing.
Right. Well, but again, like I'll go back to, and I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just saying if there were no social engineering, I think our species would look a lot different from how it does.
When you say social engineering, are you talking about the culture?
Yeah, the culture has been socially engineered to be something that's controllable by 3 people who want to make the world the way they see it fit to be best for the general public. And yeah, the Rockefellers, for example, they're the ones that came up with it. Good old John Rockefeller. As long as
came up with the template for this public school system in the late
they're the ones that came up with the template of you can make them believe anything. You just got to speak it to them properly and then they'll believe whatever. And as long as they believe this, we can keep doing that. So they is the public and we doing whatever we want is the, you know, however many families have been allowed to control things for a long time.
Well, people out there, suspending disbelief is not the same as buying it and believing everything you're told by the media, by the government, by heck. You know, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and my paradigm was that policemen were to be trusted, the government was to be trusted. You could believe everything that the president said. It was a more, I'm not sure innocent is the way to describe it, but
I'll describe it as a psyop because when you were growing up, that's when they were finding out about aliens. That's when they were realizing that all human beings are psychic because all abductees are saying the same thing. They're talking through the waves. We hear them psychically. And that's when the CIA realized we cannot have species all over the globe realizing that it's psychic. And that's when they started doing MK Ultra stuff. That's when they started with remote viewing. That's when they started using psychic as a tool and as a weapon. That's when all that started, and they couldn't have the general public knowing. So put the fluoride in the water, shut down their pineal glands, and make them all ridicule everything. We'll pay the press to ridicule all of the little green men, like all that stuff. That's social engineering, making people feel like there's no such thing as aliens. They're all little green men. The second coming of Jesus, the Air Force is fucking fundamentalist, crazy, and they're the ones that want to keep the secret is what they're saying now. It's mostly the higher ups at the Air Force who are all fundamentalist, crazy Christians, and they want the second coming of Jesus so that the spaceship comes and takes them all away. And so, right, no, I mean, there are people who actually think that, who are in charge of our country. Like, I'm not kidding you. I'm not, like, it's funny, but it's not funny because these people can push a fucking button, you know? And as long as
you paint,
yeah, but
paint with a really broad paintbrush. Just covered a lot of ground there.
Well, but you can cover a lot of ground in one zeroed in sentence, like I just did, because to be honest, personally, like, religion belongs, in my opinion, at this point, in the home. It doesn't belong in the Air Force. It doesn't. It needs to get out of the Air Force because that'll be what kills us all if they have their way.
Super Martin Sheen playing the role of a president of the United States, and I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but he ended up pressing the button and came out of the war room and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the missiles are on their way. Hallelujah."
Exactly. So they've been trying to tell us. Their plausible deniability. Thank you, Martin Sheen. Like, come on. It's just so dumb on the one hand, which makes me sound like an arrogant snob. But, you know, I've seen through this nonsense since I'm a little tiny toddler at one level or another. And I'm really glad that I snapped out of it. You know, and I don't know, had I not come home to take care of my mom and seen what she was seeing and started watching Gaia TV, I actually don't know that I wouldn't be, I don't know, on Lexapro and regretting everything. Like, I don't know where I would be. I'm glad I don't know where I would be. I'm glad I am where I am. Like, seriously.
From the things you told me about your mom, I think she was, like, more in touch toward the end, as people who are passing tend to be, I think, in babies. Those are the ends of the spectrum here, and
yep,
they see and say things that are connected to what's going on elsewise.
Right, because we're multidimensional. That we're multidimensional creatures, and that all kinds of beings exist on all kinds of different frequencies simultaneously in the same physical space. Because I think this is like a grid that is like the holograph room on Star Trek, and there's a consciousness in everything because it's all been projected by somebody. Somebody had the idea to make this particular kind of teak furniture and whatever. And because their idea was so strong, it's still here today in my room. Like people bring themselves through via the tangible creations that with which we surround ourselves. Like, so that's what, and it was what I was kind of saying before. It's like, I have no idea what I said. I don't really hoard ideas or, concepts. I just,
Well, that's a good one, because if you treat that as a theory, the thing that the quote crazy unquote things that all these people are saying that they've experienced is explained by that. Because if there are different planes coexisting at the same time here, and people pop through from one to the other,
right,
whatever.
Right. That's mediumship. Is that like being able to be open channel to a different frequency that allows communication with people that are on that channel, as well as talking to people on this plane, like that I can see, feel, hear, touch, right? Like, so that's kind of a not a bilocation, but a bifurcation of focus and attention. Right. So we're all perfectly capable of it because we're multidimensional. And then the other thing,
believe that everybody has those capabilities.
Yeah, they're just latent, and the other thing for me, when these Air Force guys, like in this fundamentalist nonsense starts, like if source energy, if we are all fractals of source, when's the last time you saw source walk into a physical building and start bowing down to itself and following itself? Like it does. And if we're fractals of source,
you said source doesn't worship itself. I thought that was
right. Why would source worship itself? And if we're fractals of source, then what cockamamie idea is it that God is something outside of us that we have to worship? What? Your higher self is what you need to worship, and not let your ego run you. That's simple.
That's another song of Liane's for those of you. Is this one out? The ego is the servant.
Oh yeah, that one. That's the one. I don't know if you guys remember. I told you there's a friend of mine who was listening to this song because I send him stuff and he said when he put the earphones on, he started seeing geometric shapes, and then when the chorus came in, it's kind of heavy-handed, and he asked if I wanted to, soften that up a little bit because it's kind of like a hammer. Do you remember that? Right. And then I said, well, just call me Maxwell because I'm coming with my silver hammer. And then he says, my wife would have said something just like that. And then I felt very proud of myself because his wife is awesome.
Yeah, she's a really good songwriter too.
Yeah, these guys, if you're ever in California and these guys are playing, I don't know how you would find them, but I wish there were stuff up online for you to find of Randall and Luann's. They're so amazing. Such a nice thing.
What's the name of that? The bat spotlight that goes up in the sky. I'm thinking about rigging up one of those that says Luann Olson and Randall Kirsch.
Like the bat signal?
You can find out.
Well, I think you need to go find Alfred. You need to go find your own Alfred. Go have a seance and talk to Alfred. He'll tell you how to do it.
The gig signal. Hey, let's talk about music for a second because that exists in the scene, like the spiritual realm.
Right. Of course. Sound, because there was sound before there were words, for sure. Music is vibration. Vibration is, right? Oscillation.
Oh, that's another
Oscillation is movement. Oh my gosh. Listen to you. Like maybe I should hire this guy to be my PR dude.
What's the name of the one? The word
before the word there was the sound. Yeah. Because it's true.
Thank you.
I just write stuff that I think is true. Like that's why these things write themselves. I don't really work hard to write lyrics. They just come through. And they come through when they're supposed to.
There's a lot of supportive anecdotal evidence for that. I mean, John Lennon, Brian Wilson, all these guys say that their best songs just came to them and they wrote them down.
Yeah, well, the aliens are here. I wrote that in like 10 minutes. That's like almost embarrassing. And it's just so silly, but it's accurate. Oh my God.
Well, I think that should be normalized. It's like 10 minutes is about how long it takes to write a few paragraphs. And if you're receiving it from somewhere, then that makes total sense.
Aren't we always receiving it from somewhere though? Like, have you ever really felt like you're the one writing? Really? Have you?
Any time that I've tried to do that, it hasn't turned out nearly as well. It's just, like whatever I'm doing, if something comes in, just go get a guitar or a pencil and paper and write it down. Or even if you're asleep and it's so comfortable and you don't want to like open your eyes and like sing it into a cassette recorder or an iPhone, it's worth it if you want to bring it in. And I think if you get chosen to bring in a thing like that, it's worth bringing in.
Then that actually, you know what? That's probably more, excuse me, my turn to cough up a frog. That's probably more the definition of blasphemy, is when you get those thoughts and then roll over and go back to sleep. How is that not the biggest fuck you to Source? Like,
oh, I don't know. I feel like Source doesn't.
I mean, it doesn't receive it like an FU, because Source doesn't have an ego. So I think I was humanizing Source a little too much there. But honestly, it's not. And I am so guilty of that. I've written so many things in my sleep and then rolled over. This is why this guy, he's always telling, when we're on the phone, he says, go write that down. I wrote a bunch of things down the other day. Bright star in the daytime sky. Because I see a bright star in the daytime sky. He said, go write that down. That's a lyric. Right. So there you go.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe we are always receiving, and
yeah, it's whether we want to listen and then bring it through or not. It's a choice, like everything else. But you know what? Unless you're not being run by some socially engineered program where you believe, what the news says and what, it was a much gentler time. And I think people were even more, I don't know if they were more gullible. Maybe there are just more people who are slicker, but now they've got different ways to sneak in their crazy. I don't know.
I think gullible is probably a term I should apply to myself during that period, because I was a kid, and kids believe the things that the adults tell them.
Because that's also conditioning. Listen to your elders. Like, why? You guys are fucking crazy. You forgot who you were. Why am I listening to you? You're nuts. You're not your authentic self. I see you behaving one way out there in the world, then you come home and act a different way, and then in the privacy of the bathroom, you're acting a whole different way. Like, how is that not a crazy mixed message for a kid? Like, and then they don't know which way is up because they see their parents trying to conform. So then they go to school and then get conformed because they don't want to be different, because then the kids ridicule them, like, because that's what society was taught to do. If something's different, you ridicule it. Like, I was in tears last week talking about this, directly connected to the telepathy tapes and what you said about autistic people. We're in here. Like, what are you doing? We're in here. We hear you. We hear you with our ears, and we hear you with our hearts without you even talking. We hear, like, why are you throwing shade at me like that? Not cool. Not cool. So we really need to literally rethink everything that we've been given as information as to, quote, how things work. New paragraph. I think we've been shown how things don't work on purpose. And they save showing what actually works for the three people who have voted themselves into the position of we're in charge. Like Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all these jackasses.
Let's go back to the listening to the elder thing, because in other cultures like Japan, they revere their elders and they listen to them and take advantage of their worldly wisdom. But it is just that, it's worldly wisdom. And if the true self or soul or whatever you want to call it, spirit, is ageless, then kids have wisdom. I mean, everybody knows that. But in that in-between time, after you've kind of gotten the cultural stuff piled on top of you, and you don't have that kind of access anymore, in the in-between times, that wisdom is still coming in.
Yeah. But again, we've been trained to be so distracted that there is no time to get quiet and hear it. Like, it's been drowned out by, and worse, like 5G and the frequencies and like all this other stuff that they've figured out, like frequency weapons that they don't talk about. it's not just frequency weapons that brought down the World Trade Center. It's the frequency weapons that are used day in, day out. 5G, what the waves that come through the TV that we listen to, everything that's plugged in all the time. Like there's a hum in the air always. Like it never goes away. And that's part of keeping the human species agitated to the point where it cannot evolve, figure out what it is. Like we've been stunted, really. And then
well, yes. I don't know what the science is, if any, about this yet. I'm sure they've researched it to the degree where they could say, the FDA could say there's no harm in holding a cell phone up to your ear for hours on end. But I'm skeptical of that because there's a revenue stream there for approving such things.
Well, I'm holding my cell phone right by my face right now in my right hand. And if it falls off while I'm asleep, it's your fault, Randall.
Oh, man. Well, there are just, all these increased levels of autism, anxiety. I mean, there's a diagnosis for every personality trait.
Honestly, I wish we were all autistic and then we'd all be psychic and then the government would be on the fucking train out to another place.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were all autistic? Then it would be an even playing field and nobody could lie to each other. I like that idea.
It works in the world of chimpanzees. I don't think I've ever seen a chimpanzee show or documentary. I think I've only seen part of one in my life, actually. But if there is a chimpanzee born with the chimpanzee equivalent of nonverbal autistic, do they just die, or do the other chimps take care of that?
Well, I know Jane Goodall is a gorilla lady, but she might know that because gorillas and chimpanzees, I don't know, might be closer to. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I would love to ask her that question.
I'll have to ask Ross Coulthard next time I text him. Can't have an episode go by where I don't say his name like that once. Yes? I'm sorry.
Is he, I don't know who that is. Does he know Jane Goodall? Is he a researcher? Does he know
God! He doesn't know who Ross Coulthard is. Grizzly's shaking his head now. All right, look, you know what, Randall? Call in next week and I'll tell you who Ross Coulthard is.
All right. I will. I mean, I haven't had a TV since I left home.
All right, this is why I have fun talking to you because your mind still functions in a way. And this is it. Randall and I are both like children. We're like two little neurodivergent kids that get on a phone and just talk. And then when we're done, he just says, I love you. And I go, me too. And then we hang up and that's it. It's very random. So, but hey, Randall, I love you.
I love you too. Is this the end of the podcast?
Sort of. But I'm gonna end you first.
I'll hang up and then you say goodbye.
All right. I love you.
Grizz, have a great one.
Thank you, sir. Nice meeting you.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
I love you too.
I love my friends. See, people ask me if I'm lonely, and then I have one or two friends who I talk to like that, whether I'm on camera with you or not. Love my friends.
That's awesome.
I'd rather have one good friend like that than a bunch of family members who expect me to act a certain way or
right. Absolutely.
Whatever. Go live your life. Go be happy. And if who my authentic self is threatens you that much, then I really love you so much that I don't need you to be around me if it hurts you. I have no, I don't have ill feeling. If your authentic self is really that disturbed by my authentic self, then my gosh, why, if I love somebody, would I feel insulted, butthurt? If you really love somebody, then you don't, I would forego spending time with somebody I love in a heartbeat if I knew that who I am bugs them. I'm that, I don't know what else to say. I don't need anybody to be a certain way to hang out with me. If I don't like them, then I just don't hang out with them. That's all. There's no need to rub their face in it. There's no point. Anyway.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Another very personal off-gassing from Liane Curtis in New York City on a Monday evening. with Grizzly Chris on the Bigfoot Outlaws channel and on the Riding Frequency channel. Yeah, man. All right. So I don't know what to say except thank you so much, Grizzly, as always, for hosting my crazy ass.
Absolutely, anytime.
And go to my Frequency channel and check out the talk I did with Dan Willis. You might need to do it in increments because it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm not sure what I'm posting next. Maybe the Barbara Lamb, where we talk about hybrids. And of course, I have to get crazy about sound frequencies with Barbara too. She's so aggressive, that Liane. Poor Barbara. Oh my God. All right, you guys, love you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Grizzly, love you. Bye, Mary. Till next week, keep riding the frequency. And remember, you're the awareness. Cheers.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Frequency, frequency, frequency.
I'm Liane. I'm Liane.
Are you ready to ride the frequency? Are you ready to ride the frequency?